What's good, YouTube? It's your man, Turn Me Up Tony, back at it with another reaction video today. So I just stumbled across this video. It is one NBA Oldhead versus 10 Gen Z fans. It looks like they about to get into it with a little debate to see which era had the juice. You know, who had the best superstars? What was the best time of basketball? Was it back then or is it now? So I'm automatically gonna give my opinion on it. I think I'm gonna end up winning this. It looks like this video is about an hour and 34 minutes, but we want to dive within like 10 minutes of this. So the first segment is Magic Johnson a greater point guard than Stephen Curry? Whoa, we about to get into it. Yo, make sure y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get it.
The floor is yours.
Magic's the GOAT point guard. I don't think that you can talk me off that ledge. I'm convinced of it.
OG, what up?
What's up, brother? How you doing, my man?
Repeat that statement.
Magic Johnson is the best point guard in NBA history.
Why do you think that?
He revolutionized the position. Not only did he revolutionize the position, he was that from the door, and he stayed that for as long as he was in the league, which is 12 seasons, first team all NBA.
You don't care that he played?
I mean, right off rip, OG got a hot take. The nigga was 6'9", 6'8", handling the ball. Like, he was the first Ben Simmons, LeBron James. You see all the point guards, all these 6'10" point guards that we now see in the NBA today. Yo, Magic Johnson was the epitome of that. They didn't see nothing like Magic back then. He was different. So I can say he definitely has a point with that. Saying he the best point guard of all time, I don't know. You got AI, you got Steph, you got Russell Westbrook, Oscar Robertson, John Stockton. You got so many different guys who really like revolutionized that position, who had great accolades. Not to say Magic Johnson doesn't. I mean, he has multiple championships, all-stars. He led his team, I'm pretty sure, the first year the nigga got into the league. So we're not talking about no scrub here. Like, you talking about a 6'9" LeBron James before LeBron James. So I don't know. Unc has a good point with that. I'll probably give him that.
With Kareem, you don't care that he played with James Worthy. You don't care that Steph Curry has revolutionized the three-point shot, that he's completely changed the game.
Actually, he didn't revolutionize it. He enhanced it. Because
no, he revolutionized because they wasn't shooting it at all before. They was not shooting it at all. You know, your era wasn't shooting that. 100%. Your era was shooting that. Your era was straight mid-range.
Have you ever heard of Dale Ellis?
In the paint.
Have you ever heard of Larry Bird?
No, who?
Have you ever heard of Dale Ellis?
Of course you care about who you're talking about. Of course, and Steph Curry, you have to care. He's the best point guard ever.
Honestly, they were shooting that back then. We ain't gonna front acting like they wasn't shooting threes back then. They definitely were. Grew up in the era around, he was probably watching Jordan, Bird, and all of them during that time, which is probably 80s going into the 90s, roughly around his era. They were shooting threes back then. Now, if we were talking about Wilt Chamberlain's era, where he was averaging like 100 points, 50 points, like in the paint, then yeah, they wasn't shooting no threes. There was nothing you can do about that. They was strictly inside. It was an inside game. But I think in the 1970s, that's when it became a three-point game. They actually took the three-point from the ABA at the time, and that's when it became a thing. So they've always shot threes since like 1970. It's always been a thing. You know, you have Larry Bird, you have a lot of tremendous Kenny the Smith, Steve Kerr, all these three-point shooters that came in and, you know, who added value to the game. Steph Curry just added the high volume aspect to it. He revolutionized the point position that now you got to chuck from 50 feet and you got to shoot it at a high clip, you know, but everybody can't be Steph Curry, but that's what these teams are doing nowadays. That's what these kids are learning. They stand behind the 3-point line, they letting it go. At least about 10 of them a game. So he's brought that aspect to the game.
And now I'm schooling you to Dale Ellis, right? Now I'm schooling you to Larry Bird. I'm schooling you to Craig Hodges, right? So let's stick to Steph and Magic.
Who's a better shooter?
Steph Curry's a better
finisher.
Shooter. Oh, Magic.
Who's a better passer?
Magic.
Who's a better mid-range shooter?
I'll give Curry that.
I know you do. Who's a better playoff performer?
Magic.
At what?
100%.
He can't shoot. He don't got no left hand.
Even if he didn't have any left hand, or even if he couldn't shoot, I can tell you that. I can tell you what he did do. He's a part of the biggest collapse in NBA history, being up 3-1 and actually losing an NBA championship. I'm sorry, sir. I can't hear. Let me clean my ears out so I can make sure I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, so
let me tell you what Steph is better at.
Yes,
First of all, Steph is a 4-time champion.
100%.
Steph is a unanimous
I'm a 5-time
MVP.
champion.
No,
Okay.
Steph is a unanimous MVP. You know what that
100%.
means? You want me to spell it for you?
Please,
that
put me
means
on.
nobody else got a vote.
Right.
Steph got
Which
that.
is nuts.
The thing that's crazy is that like that year, he didn't even win the title. Like that team was so set up for Steph to literally submit himself. Like, but he ran into LeBron. Steph still submitted himself to this day. His legacy is solidified, bro. One of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time. 4 championships. I don't know how many All-Stars, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot. Revolutionized the 3-point shot. So it could go either way. Like, I wouldn't be mad if somebody were to say Steph is the greatest point guard of all time. I wouldn't be mad if somebody said Magic. You know, they're entitled to their own opinion because they grew up in different eras. So it's like if there was a 3-point guard before OG's time, they would be saying the same thing. If his name was Dale Smithsonberger and he was the greatest 3-point specialist that the man has seen, of course he's going to argue that Magic is still better than him. Of course, because the game is based off of eras. It's like who you grew up, like just like in like 20, 50 years, there's going to be somebody saying that, oh, this person was better than Steph Curry. And if we're going to be going to and fro, back and forth, talking about, nah, Steph is the GOAT. You can't compare eras. There's going to be great players in every era as the game evolves, as it gets better, as time goes on. So it's going to happen about 20, 30 years. We're going to see it. We're going to hear it. There's going to be another GOAT that's better than LeBron.
No, it ain't nuts. Magic wasn't getting the vote.
So I'm glad
you could put any season with Matt. He wasn't getting the vote.
Glad you brought
he ain't
that
got
up.
no left hand.
Sure.
He's 6'9" Ben Simmons. Steph Curry is really one of the best
6'9"
point guards we've
big.
ever seen in our life.
Ben
My
Simmons
life
is
feel like
crazy.
you're older than me. And you have never seen a point guard better than Steph. And that's a fact.
Well, there's two things. You just said he's one of the best point guards. We're talking about the best point guard. Not only is
Magic
he
not
the
even
best point
top
guard,
2.
I'm winning MVPs when Bird is in the league. I'm winning MVPs when Jordan is in the league. I'm winning MVPs
Steph won
when
an MVP
Jabbar,
with LeBron.
when him in the league, right?
Steph won an MVP with Kevin Durant.
Yes, he did.
Steph won an MVP with all these players.
100%. But what I'm talking about is that he won it with these players who you tell me that these players are better than.
Steph is better than all of them.
No,
Steph
he's
is
not
better
better
than
than
Bird,
Bird.
too.
He's not better
Steph
than
is
Bird.
better than
He's
Magic,
not
bro.
better than.
Steph is a better shooter.
Absolutely
He's a
not.
better scorer by far.
No way,
it's
not
not
by
even
far. All
close.
he does is shoot
And
the
he
long
can
ball.
actually
That's
dribble
it.
with the
He
left
doesn't
hand.
do anything
He got
else
the
except
right hand, left hand, the yo-yo. He has all the
for you to
moves.
say that for you to
NBA players, there's no such thing as being better. If you dominated a certain era, that was the era for you to dominate. Somebody else is going to come along, they're going to dominate that era. It's hard to say who was better, Jordan or LeBron, Steph or Magic. It literally is two different people who played in two different eras who dominated during their time. You can't really argue it because they never came across each other. And it's like Steph wouldn't know because Bird came before him. Bird wouldn't know because Steph came after him. It's a different time. But Bird paved the way for Steph. But then just the people who paved the way is the reason why you can have those GOATs in this era. You can have your Stephen Currys. But Steph Curry, he's evolving the game. He evolved the game. He evolved the fact that you have to shoot a high amount of 3-point shots. He's the reason why a lot of guys, if they don't have a 3-point shot, they're finito. They're done. There's no spot for you on the team. So he just stuck to his game and how he played. It's not to say that he's actually better just because he shoots a high volume amount of threes. You know how many guys are shooting threes nowadays? Steph was just the first one to just be like, you know what? I'm not the tallest. I'm not the most athletic. But let me dominate this game in a way that I know I can dominate it. You know, my dad is Del Curry, one of the greatest 3-point shooters. So I learned from him, and then I'm going to take what he's taught me, and I'm going to make it my own sauce, and I'm going to be great in my own right. So you can't really compare it, you know, especially when there's a team that gets involved. You know, Steph also had another one of the greatest shooters, Klay Thompson. You play with one of the best defenders, one of the best assets to the team, Draymond Green, and not to mention when Kevin Durant came the next year after that. So it's kind of, you can't really sit there and say, I mean, because we can sit here and say Steph's rings are invalid. You know, he won when Kyrie was hurt and Kevin Love was hurt. You know, he lost when LeBron was at his peak from a 3-1 series, and then came back and had to recruit Kevin Durant, and then he just won that one not too long ago. So I don't know. I don't take nothing from Steph, take anything away from Stephen Curry. He is great, one of the greatest 3-point shooters, one of the greatest point guards. But to say he's better than Magic, I feel like this you really can't compare it. It's like comparing apples and oranges. They're both different players, different playing styles, different eras.
This man was dribbling like this.
You say he can't
like
dribble
this.
Right. And
like
he was,
this.
and not only was
Back
he dribbling
to the
like
basket.
right, and not only dribbling like that, finishing like that, and put it.
All right, y'all, we're not finding any common ground, so I forgot to mention 24-second shot clock once is getting too contentious. Finish your thought.
The point that I was making was Magic being revolutionary. You talk about Steph Curry, he enhanced the three-point shot because guys were shooting. There was no 6'9" point guard in the league before Magic showed up. And if no Magic, there is no Luka. There is no Penny Hardaway. There is no big guard. Steph Curry, who is a long ball shooter, he enhanced that, and he made that a bigger deal than what it was. But Magic revolutionized the game.
That was electric. All right, next victim.
Damn.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
What's up, man?
What's going on, brother?
All right, I had a quick question. If Magic Johnson was in the NBA today, what would his stat line look like?
If Magic Johnson was in the NBA today, with the amount of switching that we have in the NBA, with the amount of defense that we have, how wide open the floor is, Magic Johnson would be what Luka is doing. It would be something similar to that.
What do you mean what Luka's doing?
What Luka was doing in terms of
he can't
assists.
shoot the ball.
Nah, Magic low-key didn't have a shot, bro. That nigga shot with one hand, bro. That shit getting pinned. You know, even though defense is very lackluster in today's NBA, I don't know. The way Magic was, he didn't come off as like very physically opposing. He wasn't the crazy fastest. He didn't wow you with his athletic ability. You know, he was just a big ass point guard. He was good, especially for that time. But it's just like when you got a league that's full of LeBrons and Wembanyama's and Kevin Durant's and all the guys who move at the speed of light and jump out of the building and who are strong, it's kind of hard to say like how would he do, especially because he didn't have a left hand. Like Magic really didn't have no crazy handle. He kind of looked uncoordinated, to be honest. So I don't know. He didn't really have a bag. So how that would have panned out, him trying to get his shot off or him trying to get to the rack, or I don't know. I think it's a different era. So it's like I can't really sit here and say that he would have really dominated today's NBA. I only think one person that would probably dominate today's NBA would probably be Michael Jordan, possibly, or Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird. But I would only say Michael Jordan if he had a 3-point shot. He would need a 3-point shot. Then he becomes Anthony Edwards. Larry Bird is basically Luka, and then Wilt Chamberlain is basically Wembanyama, Giannis. So it's like they definitely could play in today's era. So
glad you brought that up because we're talking about a slower pace in the NBA, right? When the big man was just throwing the ball into the big man. If he couldn't shoot the ball, where's that 24 game that he was getting? Where's that 20? Because he had a 5-year stretch where he averaged 22 a game.
Yeah, he wouldn't do that in today's NBA. So, I'll tell you exactly.
In fact, not only would he do that today, he would be even better today at that because the game is so wide open. And now I got guys like Joel Embiid trying to cover Magic 22, 23 feet away from the basket. And I got guys like Trae Young trying to deal with Magic Johnson in transition. That's lunch meat right there.
Current day Magic Johnson would be Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons is better in every... Ben Simmons is a better passer. He was a defensive player of the year. What separates...
Never won defensive player
of the year,
ever.
I'll go as far as say Magic Johnson is one of the worst NBA players of all time. He had no skill.
Trying to say Magic Johnson is one of the worst NBA players of all time is diabolical. The nigga has 5 rings, I'm sure. I don't know where he's at in points and assists. He's arguably one of the best passers. He is not today's Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons does nothing extremely well. To sit there and say that he's Ben Simmons is kind of disrespectful. Ben Simmons can't lead a lick of team. He can't lead. He could not lead that Lakers team back when Magic was on it. And that doesn't take anything from Ben Simmons. He's all right. Like, he's a good player. But saying he's Magic is top 75. Let's not forget, bro. To sit there and say he's one of the worst NBA players, I'd like to see you go out there and guard him. I like to see you go out just because it was a different. People don't understand like that NBA. Yes, players weren't as skilled as far as doing all this fancy step backs and all these moves, but you gotta understand, niggas were still big. Guys were still athletic. They were still fast. They were like, when you go look at 80s and 90s highlights of all, there was some high flyers, bro. There were some high flyers. Like, they were big. They were strong. They were fast. I don't think that aspect of the game has ever changed, bro. I think basketball has been revolutionized from the 80s all the way to now. I don't think there's a big much of a difference as far as the length, the size, the athleticism than it was in the 80s and 90s. Yes, the skill as far as like the three-point shooting, the polishedness of handles and stuff, but that doesn't make you a better player. You know, guys had to play with more IQ back then. There wasn't more ISO players. You know, guys had to play team basketball. There was hand checking. Let's see all these players that cry about getting to the rack now. Like, imagine them trying to get to the rack in the 90s when there's hand checking. Niggas were fighting. There was rivalries. It was heated. People disliked each other. They were more competitive. They want to win. A lot of these kids, a lot of these players nowadays, they just want money. They just want money. They want to be friends. They want to just, the game, the court is more spaced out. It's more three-point shooting. It's less physicality. You can't even touch anybody without getting a call. So it's like, it's just a different game, bro. It's just a different game. But to say Magic was trash is diabolical.
The least skilled NBA player of all time. What was he good at? Nothing.
Everything.
Being big. That's the only thing he was ever good at. But in today's NBA, you can't do that. You're going to be exploited. You know why? Because you just had Luka. Luka could shoot the ball. Luka's a better.
What can you say that Ben Simmons is good at? You just called him a modern day base Simmons. Well, what is Ben Simmons good at? Are you telling me he was good at passing the ball and Magic Johnson could score? What are you talking about? He was a scorer and a passer. He led his team to the finals. If he wasn't good at anything, he would have never led them there. He was one of the most anticipated rookies that came. Bro, these guys, they don't know basketball. They watch a bunch of highlights. They get on there and they just talk a bunch of nonsense just because they want to defend their favorite players because that's who they see. But I'm a millennial, so I'm like on both sides of the spectrum. I knew what it was. I mean, I didn't watch Magic, but it's like when I grew up, I knew the early 2000s basketball, the 90s players and whatnot. I actually study basketball. I play basketball myself. I'm actually a basketball player, so it's like I study players. I study their tendencies, their attributes, bro. Magic Johnson was no scrub. Yes, he wasn't skilled in doing step backs and stuff like that. I guarantee you this nigga would have got cooked by Magic Johnson. He would have got cooked. Flame boiled. So don't act like he was a scrub. Yeah, he whoop-de-doo. The basketball is not predicated off of how the flashiness. You don't got to be Kyrie Irving to be nice. If you have a high IQ and you have a good sense of the fundamentals, just doing the fundamentals, and you have great attributes, no 6'9" nigga was like that. You can't find a 6'9" person like that even to this day who could do what Magic did other than LeBron. Literally, LeBron is the only one that literally comes close to Magic. That goes to show you that he's a generational talent. It's far in between. You can't compare that. If that was easy to say, what is Ben Simmons doing? Ben Simmons has done nothing.
Passer. Luka's better at everything besides being 6'9" because that's your only argument.
Sure.
We already have current day Magic Johnson, and his name is Ben Simmons,
Bugging.
and he's trash.
So
he's terrible.
So if Magic,
the only player that's worse than Magic Johnson is Russell Westbrook, who also can't shoot.
Right. So if Magic was as trash as he is,
yeah,
and Ben Simmons was as good as he is,
yeah,
what are we doing with Ben Simmons today?
I didn't say Ben Simmons is good. You said that.
I didn't.
Magic Johnson is what Ben Simmons is. That's not what I said.
So if Magic Johnson was what Ben Simmons is, how many all-league performances does Ben Simmons have?
Ben Simmons is not good.
Okay, well Magic is because
neither is Magic Johnson.
Because Magic Johnson was first team
played
All-Pro
against plumbers
9 straight years.
Who did he play?
I'm sorry, John.
Yo, I hate that argument when it's like you're playing against plumbers, bro. Basketball was only looked at they were playing lesser competition when you go back to like when it was first invented. When the Harlem Globetrotters and all these people started getting into the league, when Dr. J and like I'm telling you, the 80s, 90s was like prime time is when you have like these players. Like I'm telling you, you have to do your research. You have to know your history, bro. It's easy to think that because of how good NBA players are today, but when you go back and look at some of these players, they're doing some of the things that a lot of these guys are doing. They were not playing against no bums. And you got to understand, like, it's the NBA. It's the National Basketball Association. It's the best 400 players, arguably, in the world. Like, to sit there and say that they were bums is, like, kind of crazy because it's like these guys are, like, you're nowhere near their level. Most of these guys wouldn't even be able to go back in time and play against none of these players. Yeah, to sit there and say Ben Simmons is today's Magic Johnson is crazy. A man who's a 5-time champion. Magic Johnson went against some shit. Do you not know Kareem? Kareem was a 7-footer who had one of the craziest hook shots. Had the craziest hook shots. You're playing in a league where there's hand checking, bro. He was arguably the #1 scorer until he scored 38 or 39,000 points off of a hook shot, no 3-point shot. And LeBron just passed him like, what, a year or two ago? So it's like, if players are automatically better, why haven't they passed them? Especially when the defense is technically worse because there's no hand checking. It's spaced out. So technically you should be able to pass Kareem like it. Come on, bro. That's what the average fan of basketball, they're gonna sit there and say, because they're not they're not basketball players. You can't talk basketball to niggas who don't understand basketball. They only go off of highlights and TikTok videos and what looks cool. They don't understand the art of it. They don't understand the skill set of it.
Stockton, Dennis
Trash.
Johnson.
They're literally
John
terrible.
Stockton,
They
Dennis
wouldn't do anything.
Johnson.
Kyrie Irving's better than John Stockton.
Who?
Kyrie Irving is better than John
Kyrie
Stockton.
Irving is a better ball handler than
He's
John
better
Stockton.
in every.
That's it.
What's
he's
John
a better
Stockton better
defender.
at? Yes.
He's a better passer.
Yes.
Oh my
Are you
God,
kidding me?
I'm losing.
Yeah, I'm losing. I'm not gonna lie, bro. These niggas sound crazy. Kyrie Irving better than John Stockton? Are you kidding me, bro? Yeah, Kyrie is more skilled. Kyrie is more of a scorer. Kyrie has more of a handle, but he's not better than John Stockton. Yo, John Stockton. You know John Stockton is #1 in assists in the NBA, and he's #1 in the NBA. To sit there and say he's better than John, I mean, he's definitely better as far as skill, but as far as an overall player, Kyrie's a point guard, and he doesn't impact the game as much as John Stockton did. John Stockton has one of the most assists. Kyrie is a 2 guard, playing as a 1. Kyrie is better as far as his skill and his bag, and he's one of the most talented players. He's definitely more talented than Stockton, but to just sit there and say he's better, like as if he has a better impact on the game more than John Stockton is kind of crazy. That's kind of a wild take. Especially guys who've broken records, guys who are cemented that won't be broken. I don't even know in how long. I'm about to wrap this video up because this is crazy. I'm probably gonna go 5 more minutes and we about to wrap this up.
Years of my life. This is nuts. Oh my God. Oh my. Anyway, I'm gonna stay focused. So, as I was saying, there is no comparison between Magic Johnson and Ben Simmons.
No
You finish your
comparison.
thought.
There is no comparison between
No
Magic
comparison.
Johnson and Ben Simmons. He is not the scorer. He is not the distributor. He is not the playmaker. He is not any of those things. He is not the floor leader that Magic Johnson was, is, or will ever be. And it's evident because he's been already on 3 teams in 5 years? Magic played for the Lakers for 12 straight years, and he was not a point guard. He was the lead guard. Ben Simmons has never been the lead guard, ever.
All right. Also, the shot clock, it's more like football. If it ends when you're talking, you get to run the play out.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you talking about how Steph only enhanced the three-pointer, how he didn't revolutionize it. How you feel that Draymond has more career threes than Larry Bird? They weren't shooting the three about that much back then. I mean, like Steph made everyone shoot a three. He's inspired.
Yeah, I'm about to wrap this video. It's like, bro, I can understand there's never going to be no common ground. I'm on both sides of the fence. I do think players are definitely highly more skilled in today's NBA. They're definitely highly more skilled. You could arguably say that they're more athletic. I don't agree. I think the era from the 80s to now, players were just as big as athletic. Look at niggas like Sean Kemp. Look at Akeem Olajuwon. Look at Michael Jordan. Look at Vince Carter. Look at Ray Allen. Look at Dominique Wilkins, Clyde Drexler, dudes who just glided, like guys who were just fairly like, I'm telling you, it's different, bro. But yeah, to sit there and say like, I don't know where this is going. It looks like there's no common ground, but we about to wrap up this. I'm gonna make this a part series. Yeah, this is gonna be part 1. Magic greater than Steph Curry. I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I think definitely I agreed with more of his points, especially because I'm a fan of basketball, so I know the ins and out about it. I don't just go off of just highlights and going on a House of Hoops or a House of Highlights and ESPN and just looking at a bunch of things to determine, you know, my decision of who I agree is the best, you know, and I look at statistics and, you know, obviously my complete observation. But we're going to wrap this video up. Gen Z versus NBA on quote unquote old head to see who is the best. This is a part 1 series. Let me know what y'all think. Hit that like button, comment down below, and y'all let me know your thoughts, your opinions, and your concerns. But you just tuned in with another video with Turn Me Up Tony. And I just want to give all praises to the Most High God and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Peace.